Good to have you with us in this edition of the Urban Debate. Viewers, once again tonight we put the spotlight on what's been happening in the Parliament. Today, the opposition boycott the Parliament session, including Lok Sabha, when 8 MPs of Rajya Sabha were suspended yesterday for the ruckus. And so through the day, as legislations were discussed and passed in the Parliament, the opposition MPs remained absent from our Parliament. They were all either protesting outside or speaking to the media. What are their basic demands? Well, they say that as far as the specific bills are concerned, private players cannot procure food which is lower than the MSP. If you're opening up the market to private players, they too should be paying the MSP. They're also saying that you should fix the MSP as per the Swaminathan Commission formula, and government agencies shouldn't buy crops below MSP. Now, that being said, as the fight goes on, let's talk about what's unfolded in the last 2 days. Opposition says that the passage of the bill in Rajya Sabha on Sunday was illegal, the day the ruckus took place. They say that when a demand had been made for a division vote, for that to not have happened and for the bill to be passed via a voice vote amidst all that ruckus is not legal. They're saying that even if one MP wants division, it must be done. But the deputy chairman at that point of time did not allow that. There should be a chance given to the opposition to raise questions. The government, of course, says that the deputy chairperson repeatedly tried to send the protesting members back to their seats to bring about some decorum. 13 times he urged them to go back to their seats because only then can any kind of vote really happen. But the opposition was unrelenting. They continued to create ruckus, even tried to physically assault the deputy chairperson, which is why we reached that point. Now, before I open this up for conversation, and we will have legal experts tonight telling us a little bit more. But here is what I found and our research team found about what is it the rules really say for such a setup. Now, this is as per Rule 252. Essentially, the chairperson or the deputy, whoever is in the chair at that point of time, puts the motion to the House. The chairperson then asks the members to put forward their opinion in the form of either an aye or a no. The bill's fate effectively depends on whichever is louder. If the ayes are louder, then the bill goes through. If the noes are louder, then the motion, the bill, the specific question gets dismissed right there. But since this is basis on who's heard louder, it can be challenged, especially in scenarios where the divide is very close. It's not a very clear yes and no divide. In that case, if challenged, the chair can take a head count by asking the MPs to stand up at their seats. And then, after that vote, even if that again is challenged, then the chair may decide to carry out a division vote either by electronic voting or by passing on slips, whichever way is deemed fit at that point of time. That being said, are there other clauses and sub-clauses in the interpretation of the language that actually makes the passage of bill on Sunday illegal? The question is very simple. Is the opposition's charge that the bill was passed in an illegal manner valid? Tonight we talk about that, what happened in Rajya Sabha on Sunday. Once again we talk about that, what are the rules and what's the way forward. So let's say good evening to the panelists who are joining us right now. Tuhin Sinha, spokesperson for the BJP, Adil Singh Boparai, spokesperson for the Congress Party, and I also have Mr. Bishwajit Acharya, former ASG, joining us right now, and Mr. PDT Achari, former Secretary General of Lok Sabha, with us right now. Mr. Achari, if I could begin with you first, because there is a lot of disagreement of what should have been done and the manner in which the bill was passed, whether it's right amidst all that opposition. If you can help us understand, in your expert opinion, was there any kind or is there any concern in the process followed?
Well, thank you. Let me just explain a bit the process of voting that takes place in the House. After the conclusion of a debate on a particular issue, the speaker or the chairperson puts the motion before the House, he will say, now the question is that the motion be adopted. And then those in favor say aye. Then members will say aye, some members will say aye. And those against may say no, and some members will say no. Then the chairperson will say, I think the ayes have it. He will stop there for a second. And then if a member from the House says, no, noes have it, that means he wants a division. And the chairman will immediately say, let the lobbies be cleared. That means all the members who are sitting in the lobby and center hall and all that, they should come to the House and participate in the voting. That is meant by lobbies being clear. So lobbies will be clear for 3 minutes. The bell will ring for 3 minutes. I think in the Rajya Sabha's case, about 2.5 minutes or something. And then the voting will take place. Of course, the speaker will, the chairman will again say, the question is that the motion be adopted. Those in favor say aye, the same thing will happen. And then the chairperson will say, I think the ayes have it. He will stop there. And then the members will say, noes have it. Then he will order division. Normally in the House, that machine is operated, electronic machine, voting machine is operated. And a switchboard is attached to every seat, every desk. And there the member will press it. And then the vote is recorded. If the machine is out of order or something, if it cannot be operated, then the slip will be issued to the members. So they sit in the House and then sign the slip with their division number and all that, and that will be given to the table. They will collect it, they will count it, and give the number to the speaker or the chairperson. Chairperson will announce it. Now, this is the process that takes place. Now, here the point is whether this procedure has been followed properly in the House, in the Rajya Sabha, on that particular day. Now, there are different opinions which are coming. The point is that when there is a demand for division, then the chair has no other option. He has to order division. Because basically we must understand that voice vote is generally followed. In all the legislatures in the world, voice vote is followed because that is a convenient thing. But when there is a controversy, when the members want the vote to be recorded, then the chair has to concede that demand, because that is the mandate, according to me, of the Constitution. If you just look at Article 100 of the Constitution, it says that any question that is before the House shall be decided by the majority of votes of the members present and voting. Now, we must look at these words. These are very, very clear words, which are very, very, very clear meaning. The majority of the votes will be decided by the members present and voting. Now, how do you ascertain majority? Majority is, after all, not an intangible concept or anything. It has to be ascertained. Majority has to be ascertained. So it must be ascertainable. That means majority has to be ascertained in terms of number. So the Constitution says that majority, every decision has to be taken by a majority of the votes. That means the voting. There is no mention about voice vote in the Constitution, but legislatures, as I said, legislatures all over the world follow this practice. But that does not mean that the real voting cannot take place, or the chairman has some discretion in not allowing that. Chairman has no discretion at all. If there is a demand from the members that there should be voting, the chairman has to do that. That is in compliance with Article 100 of the Constitution, read with this particular Rule 252. So if you read these two things together, it will become very clear that if there is a demand, the voting will have to be done. And then one more point I will make.
Okay.
After the member has asked for a division, the chairman cannot go back to the voice vote. That must be clear. He cannot go back to the voice vote because then the process has been set in motion for a vote in the House. After that, he cannot go back to the voice vote.
Okay, that's very interesting what you're saying here right now, and maybe I can bring in Mr. Biswajit Bhattacharya as well. Mr. Bhattacharya, to your mind, is there any scenario as is being presented, for example, by the government right now, that the chair did try repeatedly to bring House to the order, to tell the opposition to go back to their seats? Any vote could have only happened if the members were in their seats. Is there any scenario where that justifies not going ahead with the division vote and simply passing the bill through or asking for a voice vote?
There is no justification. If I may say so, there is no justification whatsoever. And I would entirely agree with you, with the learned, distinguished panelist. In terms of Article 100 of the Constitution of India, read with Rule 252 of the Rajya Sabha rules, I think under these circumstances, for such a momentous, these two bills were passed, it's a path-breaking. I'm sure the intention must have been very, very good, laudable, because after 70 years, these laws were being changed. But the manner they have been done seemed extremely high-handed. And today, the Honorable Prime Minister's statement has come in all the leading national dailies, explaining the salient features. I wish this, instead of giving this full-page advertisement, these had been discussed in the Parliament. You see, the intensity and decibel of the voice and noise in the Parliament is no substitute for numbers. Tanvi, we must remember at all times that democracy is a game of numbers. What was the tearing hurry? Like all these advertisements which we have seen today, I think the objective is quite good. And if the objective is good, objective is basically laudable, then what was the purpose and reason to short circuit the constitutional provisions and procedure? You see, parliamentary proceedings, the entire country is watching. I am not here to condone any unruly behavior by any member of parliament. You see, unfortunate part of our parliamentary democracy is that when they are in opposition, the rules change. But when they are in the ruling party, the rules change. And this has been happening irrespective of any political party. But we had very high expectations, at least as far as these two momentous bills are concerned. They impact the life of our farmers, the backbone of India's democracy, agricultural marketing. When you are seeking to replace government and you are trying to replace it by, corporatization, then I think the legitimate questions which come in the minds of the farmers, they have to be addressed. And if they have not been addressed, then I think this is a singular failure of the democratic process. That means you can bulldoze anything, although your intentions may be good, although your end results must be good. See, the perception which the entire country has got today is doubly magnified by these full paper advertisements. And the advertisements also states that these farmers can enter into an agreement with the corporates and then they can walk out of their contractual obligations. I mean, is this a new jurisprudence that India is going to enter? That farmers enter into an agreement with corporates.
Well, Mr. Bhattacharya, all I can say...
And that agreement will not be binding?
Yes.
on the parties. So there are lots of questions
Yes.
to be answered. I'm saying this question has come to my mind
Correct.
after having seen the advertisement in the newspaper.
Correct. So what I was going to say, Mr. Bhattacharya, you're right, that there are many questions. There are many questions that farmers have. There are many questions that traders would have. There are obviously many questions the average citizen would have about these, the merits and the demerits, and I have, and the media would have. But all of that can only be answered via a exhaustive, in-depth discussion, debate in the parliament, especially when it comes to crucial bills. That is the point here. That's what's not happened. Tuhin Sinha, you've heard two legal experts, one expert in parliamentary proceedings here, Mr. P.D.T. Achari, saying that this is the process that should be followed. Clearly, in this case, Tuhin, it wasn't followed.
Well, the only illegality which has gone into the passage of the bill was in the behavior of the 8 MPs who rightly stand suspended by the exercise of Rule 256 by Shri Venkaiah Naidu. Now, I would like to take you through the proceedings to help you understand why propriety was maintained. Now, we all know that these are extraordinary times, and in a span of less than 20 days, the parliament is supposed to pass around 23 bills. Now, it was clearly decided in the Rajya Sabha Business Advisory Committee meeting a day before that the entire time allocated for the discussion of these particular bills and the passage of the bill would be 4 hours. And in these 4 hours, excellent discussion happened. Things went according to plan. At the end of it, if the Deputy Speaker of the Rajya Sabha wanted some additional time just for the passage of the bill to run across to him with a premeditated plan to thwart that, I think, that is what illegality is. At a time when COVID protocols are in place, these 8 or 10 members had rushed into the well of the House, demanding that, first they wanted to stall the passage, then they wanted division voting. When he said that all I'm asking you to do is go back to your seats and then we will take a call, they refused to do that, and we have seen what happened. Whether it was Derek O'Brien who virtually tore that bill or Sanjay Singh who bashed up Marshall. So I think, we need to put this in perspective. We were not scared of voting. To the best of our information, there were around 110 MPs supporting the bill present in the parliament at that point of time, and less than 75 on the other side. My simple question is, if the opposition was so sure of that it would manage to thwart the bill, why was Sharad Pawar not present? Why was Shiv Sena abstaining? And mind you, Derek O'Brien is a repeat offender. If you check the video of 20th February 2014, when the bill for the Telangana state was introduced in parliament under a different government, he had behaved exactly the same manner. So I think, these are extraordinary times.
Yes, but Tuhin Sinha, 2 wrongs don't make a right. Tuhin Sinha, 2 wrongs don't make a right. The behavior of certain MPs inside the parliament on the floor of Rajya Sabha may be condemnable, may be unacceptable, but that doesn't mean that the way the bill was passed has to necessarily be right and legal. The question to you is, if you thought you had 110 votes, why wasn't it put to division?
There was a certain, there was a time attached to it. And like you have seen, even after Sunday, there are at least 4 other bills which have been passed in both houses of parliament in the last 2 days. Now, there is a fundamental change in the work culture which we have brought about.
Yeah, a lot of bills were passed today with half empty benches.
Similar scenes during the triple talaq bill? Haven't we seen similar scenes during the CAA bill? Haven't we seen similar scenes during the Kashmir bill? The fact is, today we are not in that mode where we can, keep postponing decisions. We can keep sending it to a select committee. You are free to bring in legislation subsequently, but as of now, it was very important to bring about that fundamental change by way of introduction of these bills, which we have managed. In a subsequent session of parliament, you are most free to bring about legislations. In fact, legislation and changes are a constant process which will always go on till the time
All right. I have 2 more panelists to go. Let me quickly move on. Let me get Adil to respond to Tuhin Sinha, and then I'll go across to Mr. Madhavan Narayan. Yes. Adil, go ahead, please.
Tanvi, the Parliament of India has been reduced to a notice board. I repeat, the Parliament of India and what we saw in the Rajya Sabha is a perfect exemplar, has been reduced to a notice board by the Bharatiya Janata Party. What we saw was murder of democracy. I'm quite surprised by the ignorance of the BJP spokesperson. Let me remind him that agriculture and markets comes under the state list, number one. Number two, as far as voting by division is concerned, Rule 252 and Article 100 are authoritative in this regard. Now, let me repeat what the law and what the rules state. In the event that even a single member of parliament, I repeat, even if a single member of parliament demands from the presiding officer that there must be voting by division, then the presiding officer has no option but to follow that course of path. I didn't know that even the rules of parliament in the constitution stand suspended during the pandemic. What is going on in this country? Can we call ourselves a legitimate democracy any longer? Where the Bharatiya Janata Party is riding roughshod over the federal character, where the Bharatiya Janata Party does not believe in consulting the stakeholders. The Bharatiya Janata Party does not believe in consulting the farmer organizations, where opposition MPs last night, Ravneet Bittu, Jasbir Dimpa, Santokh Singh were manhandled by the Delhi police. What is going on in this country? This is Mahatma Gandhi's India. And I'm shocked. I don't say this as a Congress spokesperson. I am pained as a citizen of this country. The farmers of this country, the farmers of Punjab and Haryana have toiled tirelessly. Have they forgotten the Green Revolution when we fed the entire country? And now what is the response which we get from this anti-farmer government? They want to open the floodgates of the agriculture market and usher in perversive crony capitalism. This is a government for the Adanis, by the Adanis, and of the Adanis. And the Bharatiya Janata Party should bury their head in shame. Now, coming to the larger issue, and which is the meat of the matter, Tanvi, what are the farmer organizations and the Congress party demanding? We are simply saying when the farmer sells outside the mandi, the government must put a stipulation that the private player will at the least pay the minimum support price. What is the problem with this stipulation? Do you want to usher and open the gates for exploitation of farmers? Is this what Mr. Modi wants? And you know, Mr. Tuhin Sinha said something which is very telling. He said that the Bharatiya Janata Party managed, quote unquote, managed to get this bill passed. He is right. They have managed to get this bill passed by subverting democracy. If the Bharatiya Janata Party was so confident of the numbers, why did we not have a division by voting? And I'm constrained to say, Tanvi, that the deputy chairman of the Rajya Sabha has abdicated his constitutional responsibility. History will remember him for forsaking the interests of the farmers of this country. What is going on? I'm saying
But Adil, here is my own question to you, and like I told Tuhin, two wrongs don't make a right. There is no comparison. One cannot be the justification for the other. But was it right, the behavior of our parliamentarians, the way they ran down, tore up pages, the way they surrounded the deputy chairperson, was that right? Even if there was a disagreement on extension of time or putting the bill to vote at that hour and you were not prepared for it, was that the right way to express it?
It's a fair question. I'll answer this head on. The farmers 2 weeks back, Tanvi, the farmers sought to protest on National Highway 1. They were lathi charged. They were brutally lathi charged. Their heads were broken. They got fractures. This is what happened 2 weeks back. Mr. Narendra Modi does not believe in consultation. He does not even believe in consulting the state governments. He does not believe in taking the inputs of the farmer organizations. And when we seek time and when we seek our legitimate due to put forward our point of view in the Rajya Sabha, we are suppressed. What option do we have? What option does the farmer of this country and an opposition MP have? You have pushed us to the wall. And Tanvi, I have no qualms in saying, on national television that we will do it again. If the BJP will suppress the farmers, if the BJP will denigrate democracy, we will do it again. We will do it again, and we will proudly do it again. They cannot ride roughshod.
No, but But
You
to
beat
behave
up-
like that inside the parliament is also not right. It is not right. It is not a justification for the way the bill has been, the proceedings were held.
No, I'm surprised.
Okay, let me just go across to Mr. Madhavan Narayan. Mr. Madhavan Narayan, is there merit to also the part that, well, every party in power behaves in such manner and pushes through the legislations? It's not something new. When UPA was in power, even at that time, BJP as opposition often ran to the floor of the house, to the well of the house, and behaved in the same way. And while the bills were being passed, your view on what transpired on Sunday?
I have a lot to say on this, Tanvi, because I found it a bit irritating, if I may say so, that speakers were politicizing based on their party affiliations, whether it's Mr. Sinha or anybody else. These substantive issues are important to the nation, no doubt about it, whether it is parliamentary bedlam or whether it is a farmer's plight. But we are not discussing today the issue of these details in a manner that loses focus on what is the correct parliamentary procedure. So the correct, first of all, two things. To first answer your question, yes, this is not the first time that bills are being torn up, and this is not the first time that members are rushing to the well of the House. And BJP cannot pretend as if this is the first time this has been done. The entire UPA, the 2G scam days saw Parliament being paralyzed time and again, time and again, and time again. And I've seen speakers like Shivraj Patil standing up in the House and very pleading with the members. And there has been an unwritten law that the speaker or the deputy chairman, as the case may be, in Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha respectively, always tries to get the sense of the House. Having said that, let me first play a bit of the advocate for the government and say the government has the right to bulldoze, okay? If it believes it's in a majority, it can bulldoze a vote. But it cannot be in violation of parliamentary procedures. So even if there is only one member standing up to vote against a bill, and there are 350 members voting for the bill, and if that one member presses for the division, it is the obligation of the deputy chairman of the House to go for the division and count the votes, especially on something so contentious as the Farmers' Bill, in which, if I may point out, allies or supporters of the government, including Biju Janata Dal and Shiromani Akali Dal, have opposed the government. So from a point of view of legislative significance as well as parliamentary procedures, rules have been violated. Please also note two things. Mr. Sinha said two things which I saw to be Freudian slips. The first thing he said was that, this is about timing of we are running the House in this way. I'm sorry, it's not the sitting government's job to run the parliament. The parliament is run by constitutional procedures, not by the party of the day or the government of the day. Which is why I've tweeted publicly that this constitutional violation is adjudicable in the Supreme Court of India because a right to justice has been violated. The matter has gone to the President of India as a matter of formality. This country has seen lots of no confidence motions in state assemblies going to courts. So I see this as no different that vote has been violated. Let's look at the chronology. The chronology is that Rule 252 was seemingly violated by the chairman when the division was pressed. And then Rule 256 was applied. So there is a certain sequence that you have to understand on how this happened. And therefore, to that extent, the opposition MPs do have a case. Having said that, let me agree with you, Tanvi, that, yeah, we don't like this whole business of violence of some kind or the other, but this is not unique to the current set of opposition. The BJP has done it in so many ways. I have seen lots of chants, pandemoniums. I've seen no confidence votes. I've seen impeachment votes in parliament. And therefore, I'm sorry, don't act innocent. This is not a, you can go into the chronology. You can go to the website of PRS Legislative and find out how many hours of parliamentary work has been lost during BJP's days in the opposition. It's all there in quantitative data. Let's not. Mirror Now is a channel that appeals to thinking minds. So this street level logic should be avoided in such a debate. We are talking about hyper intelligence here in a hyper democratic way. We are talking about Let's not mislead. It may be you may be the MPs have a right to shed tears for farmers. The MPs have a right to talk about violation of democratic rules. But let's raise the standard of the debate. Whatever I have told you is based on hard facts, hard constitutional rights and realities, hard parliamentary procedures, which can be adjudicable in a court of law. Therefore, it looks like the matter has, in an ugly way, proceeded from the legislature to the doorstep of the judiciary, as it were. And we might cry this and that about judiciary, but let's understand, India is a very well-crafted republic. It has several constitutions of institutions
Yes.
of which the government is only one. The government is a tenant for 5 years. The ruling party has, even in a good majority, has to follow rules that are of the republic. You are a creature of the republic. You're not the determinant of the republic. So this is what I can say. And let me
Yes.
also say that, there has been this whole narrative being built up that we are changing the nation. You're not here to change the nation. You're supposed to serve the nation under the institutions already in place. And to that extent, the opposition MPs have a point. Of course, they are creating a ruckus. They are behaving in a manner that requires some condemnation. But I think there's too much drama going on. The deputy chairman saying going on a day of fast, offering a cup of tea. What kind of dramabaji
So, and
is this?
let
Is
me-
this what we do with
Mr. Narayan-
1.3 billion people to serve? Yeah.
No, I completely agree with you, and the dramabazi cannot be the response to that cannot be the way the proceedings were held. Absolutely, the two are not comparable. In fact, if I may just come in here and I point out two specific instances, because Tuhin raised this point and he said, well, the opposition opposed it and protested even when Triple Talaq bill was being put in, when the J&K reorganization bill was put up. But Tuhin, here is what my research team has just gotten back to me with. They say that the J&K organization bill was passed in similar circumstances, but there was a division of vote at that point. It was supposed to be electronical, but due to technical faults, at that point of time, Mr. Venkaiah Naidu had asked for voting via slips. And then the bill was passed in favor 125 to 61. In Triple Talaq as well, to win, Mr. Venkaiah Naidu had called for a division of votes and it was done via voting slips. The question is very simple. Why didn't we do that this time? Maybe if you had 110 votes, it would have gone through. But why didn't we do that, Tuhin?
If you just revisit that video of that day, look at the sequence of events. When the moment the process for the passage of the bill was initiated, premeditated violence was started by certain members of the parliament, of the Rajya Sabha.
So what was the urgency to do a voice vote? What was the urgency to do a voice vote at that instance? We have waited for years and years together to bring in these reforms. We couldn't wait one more day. Look at the visuals we've got today to win empty benches. Legislations were being passed still. Clearly, it doesn't matter if people are in the house or not. We are continuing with the passing of our legislation. What was the urgency to do it at that point?
If everybody is so convinced that an illegality has been committed, then there is anyway no point for a debate. You can seek legal redressal. In the circumstances in which the bill had been passed on that day, we are convinced that there was no illegality. At no point of time had the speaker, the deputy speaker, categorically denied division of vote till he was virtually attacked. And in that situation, given the existing number of people who were present in that way in the house on that day between the two sides, he went ahead with the voice vote. So he exercised his discretion. If everybody is anyway so convinced that an illegality, then there is anyway no point of a debate. You can seek legal redressal. We are convinced about our point of view.
Okay.
We are convinced of the way we conducted the business that day.
Okay. Let me just say this. All right. You say refer to the visuals, see what's being seen, shown in the visuals. I will say the visuals that have come out, sometimes it's not the constant feed, it's not the right camera angles, it's very difficult to judge from what's happened inside the house. And at this point, hence, I will ask this very basic question. Mr. PDT Acharya, maybe you can, shed some light on it. There is obviously a record kept by an entire team inside the Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha of what's happening at that instant. Can that be looked into if the disagreement is whether or not a division of vote was sought and whether or not there was an intention to hold it?
Well, that can, of course, be done. But the normal practice is when the chairman announces that the bill is passed, under the normal circumstances, there is a finality about it. And the chairman says that the motion is adopted and the bill is passed. But what we witnessed on Sunday were very different kind of situation where the chair could not or did not follow the procedure for voting in the House. That is the basic problem here. Now, whether he could not do it because of the ruckus in the House, whether or some other reason, that of course is a matter which can be debated. But the point is that division was demanded, but chairman kept saying that you go back to the seat. Of course, that is a very normal thing for the chair to say. You go back to the seat, only after that the division can be done. That is the thing. But then it is actually the responsibility of the chair to restore order in the House. And it is nobody's responsibility. It's chair's responsibility primarily to restore order. And the chair has been given all powers to restore order in the House in case there is a grave disorder. Or there are other options available to the chair. After all, I was in Parliament for about 40 years, and I was Secretary General of the Lok Sabha for 5 years. So I've seen many things happening. I know how it happens and why it happens. The chairman can adjourn the House for a brief period, maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or 20 minutes. And what I'm saying is what happens normally in such situations. And then all these leaders are invited to the chamber. The chairperson will discuss with them and say that unless you go back to your seat and I cannot order division, you go back to the seat and let me conduct the proceedings. Now, that is the way. That is the way in which it is done normally. And then he can this way diffuse the tension, diffuse the situation and bring back normalcy. And there can be a voting and all that.
Yes.
But here, without, the chairman was not seen doing that. I mean, the deputy chairman, I mean. Instead, he went back to the voice vote. That is what I was saying in my initial presentation, that he cannot go back to the voice vote. Once a demand has been made for a division, he cannot go back to the voice vote. That is a major lapse which has taken place there. Now, as regards the question whether somebody can go to court, I must clarify one thing here.
Right.
Under Article 122, can I continue? Can I continue?
Yes, please go ahead.
Under Article 122, the proceedings in the House cannot be called in question in any court of law. But then this protection is available only to procedural irregularity. If a procedural irregularity happens in the House, that cannot be a matter for judicial scrutiny. You can't go to the court with that. But now the question is whether it was just a procedural irregularity or whether this has gone to the root of the matter. That means whether there was a vote in the House. After all, the Constitution says that every decision has to be taken by a majority of the votes. Majority of the votes.
Yes.
So you have to ascertain the majority of the votes, and that can be ascertained only by conducting a vote in the House. And if you don't conduct a vote in the House, that means
I take your point.
you are not taking the... You are not taking the decision of the House.
I take your point. So
means the House
maybe
has
not
to
the
decide.
irregularities, but if there is a valid argument to be made about the illegality of the passage of a bill, perhaps that's for the opposition to decide. Two people wanted to make a comment. Madhavan Narayan first, and then Adil. We'll go across to Adil Singh Boparai. Yes, Mr. Madhavan Narayan.
As you yourself mentioned, Tanvi, we cannot see everything from the camera angle, but from all reports and indications, what we have seen in Rajya Sabha is a case of what we call a furor or a ruckus or a commotion. To use a word like violence, violence is too serious a word in the context of whatever is happening. And words like adjectives like premeditated, one man's floor strategies, another man's premeditated act. So this is all part of politics, and I think the opposition parties also want to create a larger impact in society. So this is part of their own drama to convince the people that whatever happened was something that moved them so much that they were forced to go to the well of the House. But I think the key point to notice, I think Mr. Acharya also explained that very well. There are issues related to vote, and in which if the voting doesn't take place properly in a measurable sort of a way, then that means the voting didn't take place at all, because the voice vote is ordinarily used only when there is no room for controversy. I've seen lots of lazy days in Parliament in the decade that I covered Parliament, where, voice votes were there essentially to save time because everybody knows nobody's going to really oppose this. In this particular instance, there are people wanting to register their protest, seek consultation, and also create an impact in the larger society. Given all this, this is too significant of a vote to be simply bulldozed through. And even if the bulldoze was a political right, as I continue to say that the government has the right to bulldoze the vote, but has to be done through procedures which I believe have not been followed. And therefore, very clearly, the technicalities stand on the side of the opposition. Even if, you can claim all sorts of moral arguments and stand, okay? So therefore,
right. Because I'm a little short on time, I'm just going to come in here and ask Adil to quickly make his point. I just have 1 minute, Adil. Also, is there a legal recourse option being considered by your party and the opposition?
Can I come in, Tanvi, for a minute?
I'm shocked by the response from Mr. Sinha. The Bharatiya Janata Party has made it very clear to the country that it's either my way or the highway. His response reeks of arrogance. We're a democracy, Mr. Sinha. We are not an autocratic country. You must bear this in mind. Number one. Number two, it's not just about denying the parliamentarians' legitimate right to seek division of votes, but also please do not forget that the audio of the Rajya Sabha proceedings was also muted. The audio was muted so that what was being said is not shown to the outside world. So the Bharatiya Janata Party has demolished democracy lock, stock and barrel. And now it is very clear. They've made up their mind that we are going to bulldoze this through. And it doesn't matter, whoever questions us will be labeled as an anti-national. Whoever tries to protest will be packed into the jails. And this is what's going on. And I'm surprised the Bharatiya Janata Party is so shamelessly coming to national debt. And instead of apologizing for brazenly...
Well, tonight the focus was only on what happened on Sunday and whether there was any illegality involved, or undemocratic way of passage of the bill. We've heard legal experts, we've heard seasoned journalists who've covered Parliament for a really long time. We will have to wait and watch to see if this actually goes anywhere. The only thing that I want to add, and this is without getting into the merits or demerits of the three legislations, perhaps the opposition parties should have also woken up to the fact a little earlier about what these three legislations were. Agreeing to have a shorter debate and then suddenly finding themselves outsmarted by the government just goes on to show how lightly they took this issue for the longest time. Now it depends how long they want to fight this out. But keep in mind also the visuals we got today, viewers. As the opposition boycotted the House, the proceedings went on. Legislations were passed, discussed and passed without any opposition in the House. Truly tragic, the point we've come to right now. Truly unfortunate. Thank you for joining us. On the other side, we've got Rajya Sabha MP K.C. Tyagi joining us. Stay with me. Well, joining me right now is Rajya Sabha Member of Parliament, Mr. K.C. Tyagi, as we continue to discuss what happened in Rajya Sabha on Sunday and whether the vote was held in the right manner. Tyagi ji, opposition ने आज पूरा boycott कर दिया over the suspension of 8 MPs. उनका कहना है कि जैसे वोटिंग हुई संडे को वो गलत था, वो इलीगल था. क्या opposition की डिमांड डिवीजन की नहीं सुनी गई संडे को?
मैं आपको जो रूल बुक है राज्यसभा एट वर्क, ये रामा देवी और शमशेर के शरीफ जो एडिटर हैं, जो हमारे सेक्रेटरी जनरल राज्यसभा के, ये उनके द्वारा लिखित और किताब है अधिकृत. इसमें पेज नंबर 1104 पर है, ये लिखा है डिस्क्रिशन ऑफ द चेयर नोट टू अलाउ ए डिवीजन. अगर चेयर चाहती है तो डिवीजन को अलाउ नहीं कर सकती है. मेंबर आज फॉर डिवीजन ऑन हिज अमेंडमेंट, द वाइस चेयरमैन इनवाइटेड मेंबर्स अटेंशन. ये क्लोज है कि अगर चेयर चाहे, इफ ही थिंक्स ए डिवीजन इज बीइंग अननेसेसरी क्लेम्ड, टू डिसअलाउ ए रिक्वेस्ट फॉर ए डिवीजन. तो उसके बाद जो है ये चैप्टर समाप्त हो जाना चाहिए. नंबर 1. नंबर 2, प्रधानमंत्री ने घोषणा कर दी है कि नए साल के लिए ये एमएसपी के दाम होंगे. इसका मतलब एमएसपी सिस्टम खत्म नहीं हुआ है. नंबर 3, प्रधानमंत्री ने घोषणा की है कि मंडी समाप्त नहीं हुई है किसानों की चॉइस है कि या तो इस पर बेच सकते हैं मंडी के अंदर या मंडी के बाहर बेच दे. यद्यपि मैं एक किसान होने के नाते कहना चाहता हूं कि मंडियों में किसानों के साथ जो पिछले 70 साल से एक्सप्लॉयटेशन हो रहा है उस पर थोड़ी चोट लगेगी. यद्यपि मैं ये मानता हूं कि किसानों को कभी भी राइट प्राइस ऑफ एमएसपी मिलता ही नहीं है. बी मंडी, बी नोट बी मंडी. नंबर 4, जो सरकारी खरीद है वो जस की तस कायम रहनी चाहिए. पब्लिक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन सिस्टम अगर ख़राब हो जाएगा तो देश में भुखमरी फैल जाएगी. चूँकि जो बड़े बड़े नियो रिच लोग हैं वो तमाम उस अनाज को संग्रहित कर लेंगे. और जब प्रधानमंत्री ने 6 महीने तक जिस तरह से गरीब लोगों में अनाज बांटा है, अगर कोई क्राइसिस आया भविष्य में तो वो अनाज सरकारी गोदामों के बजाय पूंजीपतियों के गोदामों में मिलेगा और उसका एक दाना भी गरीब को नसीब नहीं होगा. हाँ, मैं अपोजिशन की इस बात के साथ मेरी हमदर्दी है, हरनित सिंह कौर के साथ मेरी हमदर्दी है कि एमएसपी को कानून का दर्जा देना चाहिए. यानी कि सरकार जो एमएसपी एक बार घोषित कर दे, उससे कम कीमत पर कोई भी खरीदार अगर खरीदेगा तो ये जुर्म और जाति मानी जाएगी.
त्यागी जी, एक बात तो ये है कि जो संडे को हुआ उसमें जैसे आपने बताया, जो राज्यसभा की रूल बुक है जो लिखी गई है उसके हिसाब से चेयरमैन को या डेप्यूटी चेयरमैन को ये उनका डिस्क्रिशन है. लेकिन अभी हमारे पास पीडीटी आचार्य जी और 2 एक्सपर्ट लीगल लॉयर्स भी बैठे थे. उन्होंने ये कहा कि अगर रूल 252 देखें और आर्टिकल 100 के साथ रूल 252 को पढ़ा जाए तो ये क्लियर है कि अगर मेंबर्स ऑफ द हाउस चाहते हैं तो ये डिवीजन वोट करना ज़रूरी हो जाता है, क्योंकि किसी भी वोट का क्या तरीका है वो मेजॉरिटी से देखना पड़ता है. इनफैक्ट ये बड़ी डिटेल में डिस्कशन हुआ. तो ये एक लीगैलिटी हो गई जो शायद से कोर्ट में डिसाइड हो या ना हो, बिल पास हो चुका है. लेकिन जो आपने बात बोली, एमएसपी अभी भी नहीं मिल रहा है ज़्यादातर किसानों को. ये मंडी रहेंगी नहीं रहेंगी, कौन इनको कंट्रोल करेगा, उसके ऊपर थोड़े डाउट्स हैं. जो प्राइवेट प्लेयर्स आएंगे उनको कितना कंट्रोल मिलेगा, वो एमएसपी पे खरीदेंगे नहीं खरीदेंगे तो गवर्नमेंट कैसे ट्रैक करेगी, उस पर डाउट है. जब इतने सारे सवाल उठाए जा रहे हैं तो क्या हमें इन डिटेल डिस्कशन नहीं करना चाहिए था? 3 लॉज जो 50% हमारी देश की जनता को इम्पैक्ट करेंगे, क्या 4 घंटे के डिस्कशन काफ़ी है उसके लिए?
देखिए, बिहार के अंदर जहां हमारी पार्टी की सरकार है, हमारे मुख्यमंत्री ने 2006 में, अब से 14 साल पहले, ये मंडियां समाप्त कर दी थी. अब क्या होता है कि मंडियों के स्थान पर 1 दर्जन प्राइवेट प्लेयर्स, वो बड़े बड़े पूंजीपति नहीं हैं, लोकल प्लेयर्स इकट्ठे हो जाते हैं. किसान जाएगा गेहूं लेकर के, कितना है भाई, 180 रुपये क्विंटल, तुम कितना दोगे, हम 182, तुम कितना दोगे, 183। तो ये भाई मैं ये नहीं कह रहा हूँ कि वहाँ भी एमएसपी मिल रही है। किसान से ज़्यादा अभागा देश के अंदर कोई भी प्रोड्यूसिंग सेक्शन नहीं है। मजदूर जो मजदूरी करता है, जो पॉलिश करने वाला है, मैं जहाँ पॉलिश कराता हूँ, पिछले 2 साल के अंदर 4 गुने दाम इसके हो गए। 1970 में गेहूं का दाम 75 रुपये क्विंटल था। उस समय सरकारी कर्मचारी की जो नौकरी थी उसकी जो सैलरी है वो 130 गुना बढ़ गई, प्रोफेसर की 350 गुना बढ़ गई, और किसान का जो एमएसपी है 1970 का वो सिर्फ और सिर्फ 19% बढ़ा है। सरकारी आंकड़ों के मुताबिक बैंक के 4th क्लास एम्प्लॉय की जो महीने भर की सैलरी है वो ज़्यादा है बजाय एक साधारण किसान के। तो इतनी मुसीबतों में हम हैं। और मैडम आपकी जानकारी के लिए, गेहूं सरप्लस, गन्ना सरप्लस, चीनी सरप्लस, दाल सरप्लस, चावल सरप्लस है, चाय सरप्लस, इतनी चीज़ों का उत्पादन हमने पिछले 15-20 सालों में बढ़ाया है। आज हम हर चीज़ एक्सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं, हर चीज़। दुनिया के सबसे बड़े गेहूं के, चावल के, शुगर के उत्पादक हो गए हैं। तो जो जन्मदाता है, जो 65% जनता को, आपने 50 का, मैं 65 कहता हूं, उसको खिला रहा है, तो उसके लिए किसी को राजनीति करने की जरूरत नहीं। सब मिल करके एक किसान आयोग का गठन करें जिसमें रूलिंग पार्टी भी हो, अपोजिशन भी हो, किसानों के लोग भी हों, और एक मैकेनिज्म बिल्डअप करें कि कैसे किसान को न्यूनतम नहीं लाभकारी मूल्य मिले। और इसमें दूध वाले किसान, मछली वाले किसान, अंडे वाले किसान, फल वाले किसान, सब्जी वाले किसान, फूल वाले किसान, ये भी शामिल होने चाहिए।
जी ठीक है, आपने बहुत सही बात की। किसी को कोई और दिन इसमें डीप से चर्चा करेंगे कि जो चेंजेस लाने हैं उसमें राज्य सरकारों का क्या रोल रहे या केंद्रीय सरकार का क्या रोल रहे। केसी त्यागी जी, आज समय कम था, बट धन्यवाद हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए और हमसे बात करने के लिए।